Hello, thank you for joining me. I've just arrived at Brooklands Museum near Weybridge in Surrey. This is somewhere I've never been to before, but I've always been very excited and always wanted to come and visit. I've passed on the train many times. The South Western Main Line is just over there, so you may hear the odd train going past, but you can't really see the trains. Brookland is a racetrack which opened in 1907, where lots of firsts and world records were broken. In the middle of the site there was a landing strip. Aeroplanes would take off. It eventually went on to production of aircraft. Over 18,000 aircraft have been built here. So we're just going to have a wander around the site and see some of what there is today. So here's some of the old original wooden huts. We're going to go into the Grand Prix exhibition. So we're going to see some of the racing cars. Now, I don't know too much about racing cars. We're just going to sort of have a walk through and then we're going to go around and look at some of the aeroplanes. So come into here. And there you go. The British Grand Prix in the cars, which would have been driven in. There you go, look at that down there. All these racing cars. I'm going to here. I think this is quite it's like a garage, you know, car under repair, ready to go out onto the track. Going this way, you can see various exhibits. I can't possibly show you every exhibit there is because there is literally thousands, but it's interesting to see the cars. My area of interest in cars tends to be more the family car. As impressive as these are, I don't know too much about them, but it's great to see. You know, here's some of the uniforms worn by the people competing in the races. It was a very glamorous place to be, to come and be seen, especially in the 1920s and 30s. You know, people would come and win cups and everything. And then moving on to the more, I don't think that would probably, as a Mercedes, a modern racing car. And I don't think that would have been driven here. There is Mercedes World next door. There's a simulator there. You can actually have a go at it's a bit like driving it, where you don't actually go anywhere, you're driving on a simulator. We're going to go across the yard now and we'll go and have a look at some of the bikes and some of the other cars. There's the clubhouse over there with the Union flag flying proud on the top. So we're going to cross into here. We'll see some of the bikes. Over there's some aeroplanes, including Concorde. So we'll have a look at those because that'll be quite interesting to see. So we're going into this here now. This is where the bikes are displayed. So coming into here, look at that bike there. It's quite interesting. No pedals, which I find quite fascinating. One of the early bikes. Of course, you've got the penny farthings, and then down here you've got all sorts of different bikes. Bikes everywhere. Racing bikes up there. Well, look at that, a Sinclair C5. I've always wanted to have a ride in one of them. I always think they look great fun. I don't think I'd ever wanted to have driven one in an anorak around Milton Keynes, like it was sort of when they were, if you watch the promotion video when they first came out, it was said that, you know, it'd be an alternative to a car and everyone would have one of these if it rained you wore an anorak. I'm not sure that really sold, but they look fun to drive. It's a bit odd. See how the handlebars are under your legs, so it's a bit of a strange way to steer. One of those ice cream selling bikes. They've got one of those at Beaconscott Model Village, a full-size one, not a model one. Wow, so we've got all sorts of different, some really quite unusual bikes there. Oh, and some choppers there, something a lot of children of a certain era would have had. I'm going to go through now to where some of the cars are displayed. We'll have a look, see what we can see around there. Going into here, there's some tandem bikes there, bike for two people, various other racing bikes. Lots of trophies and medals were won here. So it wasn't just cars that were raced here, bikes were raced here, and of course motorbikes. Lots of motorbikes would have been raced here. And it's just, everywhere you look, there's cups and medals and all sorts of prizes that all the people who would have competed in these races would have won. It's really quite a fascinating place to see. All sorts of bikes. What we got in here? Some really unusual bikes. A bit like a penny farthing, except it's got two wheels. So is that 2 pennies and a farthing, or I don't think it is. But yeah, there's lots more motorbikes. We go through here, and here's some of the fast racing cars, you know, that would have raced around the track. If you ever look at some of the pictures, get an idea. Look at that. That's the racing track here. We'll go and have a look at, there are sections of the track that are still there. Without even going into the museum, you can actually drive through part of the racetrack site because it's so vast, the racetrack site. It's only a small corner that this museum actually occupied. And I drove through it the other day with my mother, and I said to my mother, I said, "You're driving on a Brooklands racetrack." I don't think she quite saw the significance that I did. Look at that, that's because I did say it was by the Southwestern Main Line. That's a great picture of a car driving along next to the railway. There's another picture there. You can see the banked up of the track. We'll go through. We go through here, and there's another hall of more cars. It goes on and on. Yeah. That's an old Wolsey now. Admittedly, I know that 'cause I just read it there. I tend to know more about, you know, like I say, the family era of cars. I did come in my Lada today. It's out in the car park. It probably won't actually be in this video, but my Lada is here at Brooklands. Very different to all these cars here. Huge one in there. It's really quite fascinating. There's a little workshop in here. Look at this. We'll make our way around here. There's a model over there of the racetrack, so it'll be a bit easier to show. That's more. I can more see myself driving one of those. I don't know if I can see myself driving one of these. There's cars everywhere. That's nice. Look, there's an office. The 3 litre Bentley. There's a book on this, and 3 litre Bentley. Lots of model cars. Again, more prizes. It's a very glamorous place. A bit like going to, say, Henley Regatta. It's like the Henley Regatta, but of racing and of course of aviation. That's a great old picture. All the cars when the track was new. So as I say, it opened in 1907, so it's been around for over 100 years. This is a model looking directly down on the old site. Now we drove in over here, that Art Deco building there, that control tower is still there. There's a Tesco's around here. We're up here, see there's the clubhouse, that building there. There's the river way flows right through the site, so we can have a look around this area here. This is where some of the aeroplanes are. Coming out here and trying to decide where to go next. That's the clubhouse. What I think we'll do, we'll go over, see the aeroplanes perhaps. So all of the aeroplanes that are here, at least one component of them was built here at Brooklands. So not necessarily the whole aeroplane, probably the most famous aeroplanes they have here are the Concordes. Now of course Concorde is known to be a British-French collaboration, so not all of the Concorde, not even the fuselage was built here, but I understand the noses of Concordes were built here. There's a nice cafe here, a nice cup of tea in there when I finished making this video. I can hear a train going past. Walking around the corner, oh look at that. There's Concorde over there. You can pay to go in it, it's an extra cost, which it would be worth doing. I'm not going to do that today because I've been in quite a few other Concordes recently. I went in one, if you want to see inside one in another one of my videos, if you watch my video at the Technical Museum at Sinsheim in Germany, I do go inside the Concorde. I also, although I didn't make a video, I went in the Concorde at Bristol recently. That's where you get tickets to go in the Concorde. I think also there was very limited spaces today. There's a Bedford van there. This building here, this is the McLaren building. Now, as I said, I'm not so into modern fast racing cars, but there is something in here that I do think is quite cool. So here, you see these cars. As I say, they're not really my thing, but if we walk around here, so not really my kind of car, impressive. But I do like this. Someone's made one out of Lego, and it's a proper Lego model. Because what I find today with Lego is it's basically become a modelling kit, and it has all smooth edges, and when it's finished it doesn't look like it's made of Lego. Look, that is obvious it's made of Lego, so I think that's really good. So that is, if I could drive that away I would, but as for the actual McLarens I'll stick to my Lada. It might not be as fast, but it's good fun. This is actually the balloon shed, I understand. Going back out here, so there is the Concorde. I'll have a walk around, have a look at some of the other airplanes. So I don't realise how long the Concorde is, it's massive. And when we get over there, we'll be able to go and see. Well, my plan is to go inside some of the aircraft, and we'll also have a look at the bank up part of the track. It's actually walking right under Concorde now. I do remember seeing Concorde flying when I was little. I remember once being at school and we could hear Concorde going over, and I ran to the window and I was told off, but I think it was worth it. And I remember seeing Concorde flying other times. This aeroplane here in front of us is an interesting one. Sultan of, I can't remember which country. We'll have a look when we get inside, but it was basically the King's personal plane. So it's going to be quite exciting to have a look inside, and he donated it to the museum. So if we go up there, we'll have a look inside. You'll be able to see what I'm talking about. It's not going to be an average plane. Let's go up the steps and have a look. So, let's make our way up the steps here. This gives us also quite a good view of the rest of the site. Get a really good view of Concorde over there. Look at that. And we come into here. Into the aeroplane. I'll say it's not like your average aeroplane. Look at this. Very luxury, isn't it? It was, the Sultan of Oman. It was his private aeroplane. There's a picture of him there. He passed away in 2020, but he donated this aeroplane to the museum, and I believe his family do come and visit the museum to see how their old aeroplane's doing. So they could have held conferences in here. This aeroplane was built here, and they held conferences here. And I've been told, look down there, there's a telephone. Apparently it's the first aeroplane to have a telephone in, so you could ring up and communicate. So that's quite fascinating. Going into here, this is quite interesting. If you look at here, there's a bedroom. And then, and this is important, there's a bed there, turn around, there's another bedroom, and that bed is there. Now I understand both were the Sultan's bedroom. Why did he need two bedrooms? Well, the reason is because he was a Muslim, he wanted to always sleep facing east, facing Mecca. So depending on which way he was flying, he'd sleep either in that one or that one, but he always slept so he was facing Mecca. We're going to go into here. Now look at this. This feels slightly more normal, the sort of aircraft you and I might fly on normally. Although if you look, the seats down this end have got quite a lot of legroom and they're extra big. This is where his entourage would have sat. But as we walk down the fuselage, have a look what's happening. Look at the amount of legroom they've got. Look at the amount of legroom they've got. They've got a bit less. And each one you go down, it gets less and less. And then when you get to here, if you look, we've gone from 2+2 to 3+2, which is probably what most of us have, unless you've flown out of London City Airport, where they have 2+2, but still smaller seats. So these were his less important members of his entourage. So that's really quite a fascinating insight into how, people in the world live. This must have been one of the kitchens for the airplanes, a few exhibits and stuff. And then we get to the very end, we come here, look, there's a couple of toilets there. Interesting, you go into this toilet, look, you can see into the tail because they've left this panel open. Have a look at that. We're now going to go back outside, and look, here's the entrance there, and we're basically standing just above the wing. So what other airplanes we can have a look inside. I don't know too much about airplanes. I like airplanes. I wouldn't call myself necessarily an aviation enthusiast. I just like going to see them. Well, over the past year I seem to have been to quite a lot of different museums that have aeroplanes. Look at that, that's pretty cool. There's an aeroplane there. There's a little Morris minor van. That's how to do the aviation. There's a Viscount there. Quite an interesting little aeroplane. I think we can go and have a look inside that one, and then we'll go. That one over there, that's a cargo one. So this is a Vickers Viscount. So let's go up and have a look in here. So this is a propeller plane. Walking up, you can hear they've got a sound playing of how the airplane would have sounded. Hello. So it's quite good to hear the sounds of the airplane. We'll go through into here.
Oh, sorry, I didn't know.
And here we are, we're inside the aeroplane. If you have a look here, you can see the seats. So it's a bit more, like I was saying, compared to the one we've just been in, what we're used to. Although interestingly, this is 3+2, so it's quite a small aeroplane that has quite large windows. So that's quite exciting.
Yeah.
We're now going to make our way out and we'll go and have a look at some of the other airplanes. Just let you have a quick look in the cockpit. And then we'll go. It's quite good, every time you come out of an aeroplane, you get quite a good view over the site. And from here, if you look over there, you can just see the banked up part of the track over there. So we'll go and have a look at that. We'll see what else there is. So that's the cargo aeroplane. You can see it doesn't actually have any windows. Interestingly, there's these two, so Vickers Viking, and there's also that one there. But the difference is, although I think the fuselage is very similar, that one has a back wheel, so see the nose is up in the air. That one has a front wheel. I don't think we can go in these two airplanes, but we're going to walk over here because then we can have a look at the curvature of the racetrack, which is quite fascinating to see. Shame we can't see any cars racing around it, because that really would be quite fun. What we'll do, we've got a couple of bits I want to show you, and then we'll finish up on the racetrack. We'll have a good look at it, is my plan. But let's just have a look at this section of the racetrack. So I think the cars would have started over there. See that line of trees? That's the test hill. I think they started in front. They went through here, and there was a junction. So test hill, this side of Test Hill was effectively inside the track, and they'd have gone right round and then past. So if you're having a look here, up there's what was the members bridge. Ross's members would have stood. Clearly see this is the good section of the racetrack. It's fenced off up there, and the railway line is just behind there. We're going to head over towards here. You may have noticed there's a few buses. Brooklands is also home to the London Bus Museum. What I'm going to do, I think I'll do that in a separate video. So I'll do a separate tour of the London Bus Museum. Otherwise this video will be quite a long one. Now walking down along the back of the aeroplanes, Hunting Cargo Airline. So this is a cargo aeroplane, so I think we can go, yeah, we'll go down the steps, so we will be able to go inside this one. So we'll see how cargo would have been transported, and then we're going to go and have a look. They've got a wind tunnel here. They've got, it's a bit like you go around an aircraft factory, so that'll be quite interesting. So there really is quite a lot to see. There's no shortage. It is the sort of place, I'm doing quite a quick tour. I would suggest if you're going to come here, come for a whole day. It's not the sort of place you can just come for a couple of hours in the afternoon. It's the sort of place you need a whole day at. So we're just now walking up the steps into this cargo aeroplane. So we'll go and have a look inside. Hello there. So here we are. We're now in the aeroplanes. They've got some exhibits down here. There is model aeroplanes. But if we go through to here, you can see they see how the transported cargo. Obviously, there's a net to stop it from falling around. All sorts of cargo would have been transported, including horses. And then when you get into here, one thing that's quite interesting, if you look down here on the floor, see these are like ball bearings. When they were in the aeroplane, everything was loaded. There was no hydraulics, nothing to help you move stuff. This was the best you had. So with these, you could push pallets around. See, like that one there, it'd be a lot easier to move that around with these ball bearings. So that's why they're there. That's probably the uniform the pilot would have worn, and of course where the pilot would have sat at the cockpit. And this is a door, so that would have opened right up, so you could have loaded the cargo in sideways, as that picture there quite nicely demonstrates. This picture, that is this aeroplane returning here to Brooklands in 1996. I understand this was the last aeroplane to ever land here at Brooklands. So in my lifetime, planes were taking off from here, but unfortunately they no longer do. And as I mentioned earlier, quite a lot of the site has been built on. But it's nice that this corner of the museum, or this corner of the site, opened as a museum about 1991. And until today I haven't been here, but it's somewhere I'd always wanted to go. Thank you.
Thank you.
So I'm really pleased to be here. So we'll make our way out of the aeroplane now. And there's one other little one over there, which I thought we'd go and have a look inside. And then we'll go on past the bus museum. We're going to go and look at the wind tunnel and the aircraft factory, and then perhaps a bit more of the track. So back down onto terra firma, although we've only just been a few feet above the ground, not thousands of feet in the sky. It'd be quite fun to fly in all of these. aeroplane, let's see how you go in the back door. Up there, for a tail. What am I going to next? Well, let's just have a quick look. We can't ignore this little Morris Traveller van. That's brilliant. I think if I'd never got into larders, I may well have ended up having one of these. I think they're great little cars, but yeah, I ended up with the larders. These are a lot more, although older, a lot more common than the larders. I suppose, like if you go to Hungary, a larder is like the equivalent of having a Morris Minor. Let's go into here now. Fine. Feels very strange boarding an aeroplane. I'm not used to boarding aeroplanes in the back. So here we are. We've come into the end of the aeroplane. Again, look, it's again a small aeroplane. 3 seats on one side, the arm, 2 seats in the other. So walk down here, and then you get to down here. You've got a few exhibits in here, so it's like used as a bit of an exhibition space. What we'll do now, we'll go back out again, and we'll have a look around some of the rest of the site. It feels so strange getting on and off all these aeroplanes and not actually taking off. But, you know, that's a really nice site. Look, 2 buses over there. Like I say, bus museum, separate video. We're heading over here. There is a wind tunnel here, which I don't quite understand exactly how it works, but it's quite fascinating. And it's its original building. See this big building here? That was their wind tunnel, and that's where they did various experiments with different types of aeroplanes, or concepts of aeroplanes, to see how they could potentially perform as they came up with new designs. And then over there, I think, so that's the section over there of the racetrack where it would have started. So they'd have shot off in that direction, gone round. I'm not sure how long it would have been, but it must have been at least 3 miles. Oh yeah, here. This is a thing I've got to show you. But probably more fascinating is this. This is a replica of the first aeroplane which flew across the Atlantic, and it has, since being built, this replica works, or has worked, and it has flown across the Atlantic. And if you look on here, there's quite a nice map of the world, and it shows various record holders or maybe failed record holders crossing the Atlantic. So you've got Christopher Columbus, Spain to Bahamas, 70 days. SS Great Britain, I went on that earlier this year. I didn't actually make a video, but look, 14 days it took. The Titanic, as we know, sunk, and then after that you're going on to aeroplanes, and then the fastest, the Vickers VC-10 was the fastest subsonic airliner, which did it in 5 hours and 1 minute. The Concorde did New York to London in 2 hours 53 minutes. That just feels, you think, you go to Greece, and if you go to Greece on an aeroplane, that takes at least, how long, 4 hours maybe? If you go to Bulgaria it takes 4 hours, but you can get to New York in less than 4 hours. It might take longer to get to New York, because on the whole you tend to get the winds pushing you back, but to get home from New York to London in less than 3 hours, it's just, it seems such a shame that with Concorde, that when I stopped flying, we went backwards. We've not yet had another supersonic airline. That's a Bedford van. So I do think that is a shame. What I'm going to do, I'm going to take a shortcut through the cafe, and I'll just show you the cafe. So if you ever come here, you know where you're going to get a tea. There's an ambulance, because it's this building. There was a door into it over there, but that was the exit, so I didn't want to go around it the wrong way. So we'll go into the cafe, out the back door, and then we'll go through to the aircraft factory. So this is the cafe. This is where you can come and get a nice cup of tea or cake or even lunch. Don't think I'm supposed to go in that way, so how do we find, oh yes, right there. So we're just going to take our shortcut through the cafe. This is the cafe here. It's also the original clubhouse building. In fact, I think while we're in here, there's a few things in here to look at. It's nice actually. You can sit and have a cup of tea in the presence of vintage cars. I think that's really nice. Let's have a look. Oh, there's some more rooms here. Look. Oh, that's the ladies' toilet. We're not going there. Barbara Cartland room. So look at this. A ladies' reading room. Very nice. And then this must be. This is an office. So this is the clerk of the course. It says, oh, look at that, there's an old, very old map of the track. So we're in this area here, we're there actually. That's called the Railway Straits, that's the South Western Main Line. That's a junction with the line from Chertsey, which not many passenger trains use. They go that way into Weybridge, but you get charter trains. Some of the charter trains with the Railway Touring Company I've been on have taken that curve. We go back out now through the ladies' reading room, which is nice and cosy. Look at that, there's a Lloyd's loom chair, but usually a Lloyd's loom chair like that one over there. An armchair. I've never seen a Lloyd's loom sofa or Lloyd's loom chair for two before. Back into the cafe. Another car there. So we're walking right through the middle of the club building. And one other thing, go down here. I said I wasn't going to take you in the ladies' toilets. This is the gents. The reason I'm taking you in here, I just want to show you something. Look, some very old urinals, but they are out of use. The main part of the gents is in there. We're not going to go in there. But look at those there. There's huge ceramic urinals. And it just seems the amount of effort that's gone into them, and they're just toilets, you know. And only half the population ever saw them, but you know, they really are quite amazing pieces of artwork in a way. So we're walking now through to the cafe. So this is the cafe. Oh, look, more bikes and motorbikes. And then we're heading round to the wind tunnel. And we'll walk, the building that houses the wind tunnel, we'll walk through there, and then that's where I think the racing started. Oh, while we're here, get quite a nice view of the clubhouse. Look at that. And, there's a tower where the commentator perhaps would have stood. So we go, the stratosphere chamber, that's what I was looking for. So this is the wind tunnel. This is going to be quite fascinating. Like I say, admittedly I don't know too much about how it actually works, but it will be a fascinating thing to see. So we walk into here, this is the back, this huge in front of us, that is the wind tunnel. So you can see all the various equipment associated with creating the draft. You've got these huge pumps. We'll go around the other side and have a look into the tunnel itself, but if you look at the picture you may not realise how big it is. It's only like now when you see me stood in front of it, you can see it's pretty big, it's pretty tall, and the building we're in is pretty big and quite vast. So we're walking around here. So as I say, this does explain how they create the draft, and then inside that's where they would have been able to have, come up with new designs, tested the aerodynamics of certain new forms of aircraft. There's different engines here. So that's off the de Havilland, different engines of different aircraft in here. You can have a look at propeller there. It looks like that one's come out of an aeroplane that's crashed. It looks a bit broken. Walk through to here. What's this? This is an engine out of a Bristol Hercules, and I think if I press this it'll start. Oh, look at that, look. You can see all the components. See that? It's obviously turning very slowly. The propeller's been cut off because they need more space, but see, that's turning. So that would have been obviously a lot faster. Let's fly. That's fascinating to see. So all of this behind me, that's all part of the building that houses the wind tunnel. So it's a pretty big building. More aircraft engines there. And we're coming around to the front now of the wind tunnel, so that's going to be exciting to see. So we'll just go around here. Oh, this explains all about the bouncing bomb. I think so. That's one of the prototypes. I understand somehow was that if we have a look here, this may have been the launcher. It looks like a giant crossbow for the bouncing bomb. It would have set the bomb spinning, and that's how it could bounce. If you look here, there's an aeroplane, and the bomb would have bounced across the water, and then this is the dam, which of course the bouncing bombs are known for the dam busters. This is the dam here that they would have been trying to destroy. Yeah, look, there you go, there's a picture that explains it in a better way. So you can see there's a bomb there, and there's one that's set spinning, so as it lands on the water, sort of, you know, like when you skim a stone, a bit like that, and then it would blow up the dam. You know, this is the wind tunnel, look how big it is. And as you can see, there is an aeroplane inside it. It's got, or at least the nose of an aeroplane inside it. I suppose you wouldn't have necessarily had a whole aeroplane. Look at that. So this is where the air would have been drafted at it, and that's how they, would have tested the aeroplanes that, the shapes of future aircraft. Go down here now. We're going to go into the factory, and then when we've done the factory, I'm going to go and make a video on the bus museum in a separate video. Thank you. So we're out here. This is Concorde again. We're now going to head for this building here, the aircraft factory. So this is quite an interesting building. And then over there, that's Test Hill, and see, I think is an old Bedford lorry over there. It's a little bit windy, so I'm going to get inside as quick as I can. It's a nice day today, but just a little bit windy. So let's go into here. Aircraft factory entry. See what we can find in here. So of course, so they did build the aircraft here. So this is the factory. Now look at this. So you can see some of the earlier forms of aircraft, and I find this one quite fascinating. This Vickers Wellington. That is one that crashed in Loch Ness in Scotland. They spent quite a few years underwater in Loch Ness until they bought it out, got it out and brought it to here. Here it is at Brooklands displayed again. And it's quite interesting because you can really see the structure of the aeroplane. Looking at it here, it doesn't really look like an aeroplane, but that is how the fuselage is constructed. What you can do, you can pick up a piece of paper as you come in, and you can go around and get it stamped. So see, this is the carpenter's shop. So you put your paper in here, you go like that, and you get, see that's a little saw? You get that on your piece of paper. So in this factory, we can go around each shop effectively of the factory. So that's the carpenter's shop. So it gives you an idea of how they would have constructed the aeroplanes. See, there's a nose of an aeroplane just there. That one's closed off. Which one's that? That's the tinsmith shop. So again, there's one of those. There's a Hawker Hunter here. See that? So that's a Hawker Hunter. There's one of those displayed at Cosford Air Museum. If you go past on the train, you can see it. So that's the Hawker Hunter. This is the machine shop. Again, you can get a stamp there. See the lathes in there. I think down here is where they may have made propellers. Oh yeah, look. The propeller shop. See this one? And it's quite good because you can really get an idea of how a propeller's made. Look at this. See that? Pieces of wood glued together. They would have sanded them down so you have a nice, smooth, laminated propeller. And you can always have a go at that. Because look, in this vise here is a piece of wood. You have a sander. I can actually have a go. So if I was doing this all day, I'd be able to sand it down. I have in my past spent time sanding, and it's quite a satisfying job, but can get a bit boring at times when you're just doing this all day. Especially, I once had to do a job where I had to get something a right angle, and I had about 100th of a millimetre tolerance, or maybe even less, and it took ages to get it perfect. So yeah, I'll leave that. So you can start to see the aeroplane begins to take shape. Look at that up there. Is that a Harrier maybe up there? There's an engine of an aeroplane. So you can walk all around here. There's various other parts of the components that would have been made in this factory. I'm going to take you upstairs. This is danger ejector seat, so yeah, I've ejected the pilot if necessary. So there's the Hawker Hunter in front of us. Going upstairs now, up to the design office, which will be quite interesting. You see another nose of an aeroplane. It feels funny when you sort of see parts of aeroplanes, you know, in the under construction stage. Going up here, and we'll get a nice view over the factory, which we've just walked around. So this is how you design an aircraft. This is where they'd have sat. Look, someone would have sat there drawing. There's a drawing there of a potential aircraft. It's quite a fascinating thing. Someone had to spend all this time designing. There we are, looking down. You can see where we've been all round here. This is the Wellington, look, this is its tail, the one that was found in Loch Ness. He's walking along now above the fuselage of the Wellington. You can see her wings stretching right out, right out. You can just see down there the fabric shop. I can see some sewing machines. So there's all the different parts coming together, you know, to create an aeroplane. And over 18,000 aeroplanes were created here at Brooklands. We're now going to go out the back, and probably the final exhibit hall I'm going to show you on this trip. And we're going to go and see some finished aeroplanes, more finished aeroplanes. And of course you can, this is where you'd, if you're working here, you'd clock out. Flight shed and exhibition. We go across here. Interesting cars down there, Saab and old Land Rover, even Ford Focus is starting to become a bit of a classic. And here we are, to the flight shed. There's a Hawker Hurricane aeroplane there. Another one, is this Contact, is that yeah, it's a Hawker Hunter. I thought it was a Hawker Hunter, I wasn't entirely sure. So there's another Hawker Hunter in here, so that's good to see. You can see the wings on this much older airplane. So now we've been in there, you can understand how they've got the shape to form the shapes of, this is a biplane, it has two wings. And that's actually just made of canvas. It's very, very thin. Of course, it has to be fairly light and thin to fly. Around here. Is that Harrier? Yes, this is Harrier on it. It's really quite amazing. Like I say, I'm not too clued up. Railways are my thing, but I do like aeroplanes. Look at this is quite fun. This is another Wellington. We can actually go inside this one. It's only the fuselage. This big black area here is where the wing would have come out. We can go in part of the fuselage, see what it's like. I don't think it's going to be very big, so we go in here. And look, this is the Vickers Wellington fuselage. Look at that. A Vickers Wellington skeleton fuselage, because it is very much skeleton. Go through here, and look at this. So that's where the pilot would have sat. There's the pilot's seat just there on the other side. Unfortunately, there's a reflection, but the pilot's seat is the other side of that piece of perspex. Might be able to see it better. Yeah, there you go, just about to see it. So I go through this very small door now. I've got to be very careful, don't bump my head. Where there's other, see that someone planning where they'd have been flying would have sat. And then to this part of the fuselage. And then the next part is a picture, but it gives you the idea of what it would look like looking down the fuselage. And again, we can see how it was constructed. It's really quite fascinating being inside it. You don't normally think about really the fuselage, how it's constructed when you're inside. So that was a Wellington's fuselage. Coming out here, what I think we'll do, we'll finish the video up where the racing would have started. So I've basically shown you around most of the factory. Look at that funny little aeroplane. Imagine flying around in something like that. So here we are, we're going outside. So I think this is the track. I think they'd have started here. They'd have gone up here, like I say, there's a junction there of the track, and then they'd have gone right round, then they'd have gone round and round and round until eventually they'd have come into here. So I hope you enjoyed this video, this tour of Brooklands. Like I said, I couldn't possibly show you everything, there's so many things here to see. Do come and visit. I would suggest you have a whole day here if you're thinking of coming to visit Brooklands. So thank you very much for watching. Please do feel free to like, subscribe and comment from the racetrack.